Hi, I'm of the opinion that every single graphic designer needs their own brand. Whether it's just simple minimalist approach or a more tailored approach to your audience, it is a must in this industry. So this video is going to be me walking you through my creation of my brand as a graphic designer, and I want to niche the brand down to the industry that I would like to work in, but still make it broad enough that as I evolve as a graphic designer, I have room to change that style or brand image, but it still gives the same effect and applies to the same audience. So, a little bit about me. I am a graduate of the University of Newcastle. I have a Bachelor in Visual Communication Design, and within this degree, I learned brand psychology, branding itself, as well as marketing. So I have quite a bit of learnt knowledge, and we did some design briefs and work for local businesses where we had to design logos and a brand for these businesses. So I have a little bit of training there. I've also done some work on my own for local businesses as well as my college at uni, where I had to design a logo and pertain to their already established brand with a new logo. So I've got experience with that as well. I also have 2.5 years of experience in designing for a local pub using their already established brand with every single social media post I create, as well as their captions and their tone of voice. And that is really the hard part, I guess, about branding, in my opinion, is getting a tone of voice and making sure it's consistent throughout the whole brand. Might be easier for a personal brand where your tone of voice is just best kept the way that you speak to people, but in terms of a business's tone of voice where you've got multiple people responding, multiple people posting, you want to remain consistent throughout that whole brand. So that's when it gets a little bit difficult. That's what we're working on today. I have experience, not a huge amount of experience, but I do have experience. So if you're a new designer and you need some inspiration or you want a couple of little helpful tips, this video might be right for you. I will link a couple more extra videos that I found helpful in this whole process and that I found helpful during uni. And yeah, hope you enjoy. So to start with, I have this master sheet that I have been jotting down the things that I like and just doing little doodles, as well as answering questions to myself about my brand and how I want it to be seen. So I'm just going to walk you through that. So after much deliberation, I have decided to stick with the name Pantofolaio, as I've had it since I was like 15. And I can use my last name, so Bartley Studios was the other option. But the important thing to think about is if you're going to simplify it into 2 letters, then really think about what those letters stand for. So you got Bartley Studios, that's BS, and I don't really want my brand to be short for bullshit. So we're sticking to StudioPantofolaio or Pantofolaio Studios. So I've got PS here, but I think I like StudioPantofolaio a bit more. It seems a little bit more professional than Pantofolaio Studios, and that sounds like a mouthful to say, whereas StudioPantofolaio is a little bit better. Pantofolaio is Italian for couch potato. I just kind of vibed with that when I went through my whole like cozy drawing cute little things phase, and I still will be drawing cute little things, but I want to direct my brand towards the music industry and designing album covers for artists, as well as visuals and music festival stuff. So I need to make this name less cozy and more musical based, but I want to still use my little potato man as the mascot. I've just got to think of a better way to draw him so that he doesn't look like a cute, cozy little guy. And I definitely want to include disco balls, as I think it looks kind of sick. These are some other experiments I've done. I've got a little megaphone and a boot. I love Cage the Elephant, and I always think of like cowboy boots and like that whole aesthetic when I'm thinking about simplifying them. And the disco ball is more for like the club scene. I work for the Newcastle Hotel, which they originally had a disco ball as their logo, and I love drum and bass music as well as different types of EDM, and I kind of just think of clubs when I listen to that music, so the disco ball represents that. Megaphone, I just thought looked cool, so I just tried drawing it. I love these like Y2K kind of elements that are in at the moment, and I think I want to include that as my favorite styles that I love when it comes to graphic design, which we'll talk about in a bit, is 80s, 90s, and 1000s. I will talk to you about that in a second. I have a whole mood board of all the designs that I love. My favorite color is green, so I want to include that in there somewhere. Thinking about adding some denim textures as it like ties into all 80s, 90s, and 1000s styles. They all have denim all throughout it. I answered a couple of questions that are important to the brand, and the main one was what I want to attract. So what kind of audience do I want to find my posts, as well as what clients would I like to have. So ultimately I want musical enticed people as well as grunge, young people, festivals, and cool and fun, I guess. So yeah, I really want to tap into the festival goers and music lover audience, and then I want to entice bands and EDM artists to come and be clients essentially. So that's what we are going to hold at the heart of all of our designs and make sure that it really represents this audience. Thinking about this audience, I went to a couple of pages. For example, the Newcastle Hotel's website is black and white, and then they've got touches of red and blue, like really vibrant colors. It's the same with another local hotel that is black and white, and then it's got yellow as its secondary. So I've noticed that throughout all of the festival pages as well, there's pitch control. They have black with red writing. They all do the black and white, and then they have a really vibrant color as like a secondary. So then with that in mind, I came up with a few colors that I like, and then I'm gonna pop this up on the computer and I will show you that.
So when I'm designing something brand new and I'm not really sure what direction to go with it, or I have a broad idea and I really need to narrow it down, I make this thing I call a design direction sheet, where I go and collect as many images as I feel necessary on Pinterest that just give off the same vibe that I want for this brand or design or whatever I'm making, and I put them all on this page and then have a look at them as a whole to see what they all kind of have in common. And this really helps me narrow down my style and what I want for the poster or brand design, whatever it is. And so I've done that for my own personal brand. As you can see, there's shit tons of images here.
There usually is.
I go a little bit mayhem on Pinterest. Essentially, I put them all together here, and then in the top corner, I've written down what they each have in common. So all of them are generally an 80s, 90s, 1000s sort of style. They all have a grainy or paper texture. There's quite a few that have like a liquid kind of effect. There's a lot of overlays, there's a lot of collage, there's a lot of photo elements. They all kind of have a bit of a futuristic but still retro feel to them. And there's a lot of warm, natural sort of colors, especially the greens, the browns, a few pops of red, and like warm blues. So I narrowed it down with these general terms, and that is what the brand is going to rely on to keep that same aesthetic, I guess would be the perfect word for it. And then on the next page, I put typography. Typography is usually quite a huge part of my designs, and that's why I include a whole separate slide for it. But yeah, so I've just kind of collated a bunch of typography images that I really like and I think would represent my own personal brand well, and then done the same thing and typed out all the things that they have in common. So there's lots of bold font, very contrast colors. So if it's like a dark image, there's a bright white or a yellow. There's lots of bubble fonts, there's lots of cursive, there's glow effects, Once again, the grain is back, yellows, reds. They also interact with the background, which I think it always looks really interesting, and I love that style so much. So I'm definitely going to include that. None of them are a perfect white or black. They're all slightly off-white, and I personally just really prefer having it. It looks a little bit more classy, a little bit more professional. So yeah, that's the typography slide. Now we have the color palette slide. So I already had a pretty good idea of what I wanted the color palette to look like. I wanted to have quite a few different colors in it, as I am still going to do illustration, and I will hope to set up an illustration shop, but I still want it to be within this personal brand. And so I wanted the options to have extra colors. So we started with my neutrals. Like I said earlier, I love the off-white and the off-black. So we've got those up there. And then a lot of the websites that I looked at for music related design, they really use their blacks and whites and then just have one extra color. So I decided to include some grey and a bone white as well to give me a few more options to pair with the multiple different extra colors that I have, as sometimes it looks a little bit off and a grey might look a little bit better. And then as my main secondary color, I have these 3 shades of green. They're all a version of fern and forest green. It is my absolute favorite color, so I just had to include it, and it's going to be the main secondary color. And then conversely, in a second palette, I decided to go for secondary option 2, as I think the muted tones pull from that 1000s, 90s, 80s kind of color palette, rather than having secondary option 1, which is just a little bit too bright and a little bit too clean and professional for the kind of brand that I want. And then over in the bottom corner, you can see my final color palette I decided on. I think it reminds me a lot of MTV and Rage, which are huge inspirations for this brand design. So I am quite proud of this color palette and I love it so much, and that's been the most important thing about designing my personal brand, is making sure that I love it. Now, the final pillar of your brand is the typeface. This one's a pretty big one, as it is going to be used consistently throughout your whole brand, and you probably won't change it for the lifetime of your brand. So I have gone through and trialed a bunch of them. I already use Sneakers Pro and Enris Lab in all of my videos as well as posts and things. I just really like these fonts. I don't know really why, but Sneakers Pro definitely represents the style and vibe of this brand. But when you put it on the page too much, there's just too much going on. So I think I need a more bold, in-your-face font, and then have Sneakers Pro as the subheading, and then Enris Lab definitely I prefer as a light kind of body text. So in this brand direction document, I always use the typeface Antique Olive Nord and Droid Sans, as I think they're just really legible, and I would send this off to my manager a lot for new events at the club that I'm not really sure what to design for, and I just want him to be on the same page. And I just choose these typefaces as they're quite plain and you can apply anything to them and it doesn't take away from the design. So I thought to include it in my typography choices, and I really like the way the Antique Olive Nord looks with Sneakers Pro. I think it is bold enough that you read it first, but it doesn't take away from the stylistic coolness of Sneakers Pro. So we settled on Antique Olive Nord as main headings, Sneakers Pro as the subheadings, and like just fancy little embellishments, and then Enris Lab variable as the body text. So yeah, that is my brand direction cheat sheet thing. I love doing these. It gets clients and my managers and other people that I work with all on the same page, and we can visualize things a lot better and come up with ideas a lot easier. So I would really recommend using this. As you can see, I have already experimented a little bit with the logo design as well as some fonts in here. So far, I am loving this kind of thing as a simplified one, And I kind of like this, but I'm not too sure. So I'm just going to speed this part up and make a whole bunch and litter this page with logos and then see which one stands out the most. This is my favorite exercise for logo design, and it's definitely the best way to do it. Just make a bunch of black and white logos, and then whichever one pops and you love, that's the one.
Hey, I'm back. So these are the ones we're gonna go with for now. I love the simplified version, but I am very unsure on the long form, and I've put a story up on Insta for people to vote on their favorite. I'm hoping it's also my favorite, as that will really confirm things for me, but otherwise we're gonna go with what the audience picks because that is who we're appealing to. And I'm really not sure. So now we are going to play around with color and see how it looks with colors on the logo. Mainly going to use the logo in black and white. It is very important to design it so it looks nice in black and white, and then add color later, as most times that you'll be using your logo, it will be black or white. So very, 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 very important that it works when it's black or white. But yeah, so I'm just going to play around with the colors and see what versions of the colors I like the best on the logo. Then that will finalize that, and hopefully that will finalize a profile pic for the moment. I just want to say I am in love with these colors. It reminds me of like Rage and MTV, and that was the exact vibe that I was going for, and I'm so happy with these colors. I love it.
And the green too, it's all just tying together, oh my goodness.
So now that the logo is done for the most part, I have written myself a list of all the things that I need to make assets for. So first I need a YouTube banner for both this profile and my portfolio profile, and then a YouTube profile picture for my portfolio profile, as I'm going to keep this one as a headshot and hopefully get a more on-brand headshot for it. Next, I'll need a profile picture done for Instagram, and then I need some Insta covers for my stories. These are some of the ideas that I had for story sections, I guess. And then I want to do a website animation of both of my logo, and then also like the landing page having an animation in the background of the website I thought would look really sick. Hello. So I am in my editing phase of this video and have noticed that every single one of my tutorial clips has recorded with really shit audio. I got this new mic and I'm just still learning how to use it, and figured out that it does not sound the greatest when it's plugged into my computer, and I'm better off using my headset. So that is fun. If you would like a tutorial on any of these designs that I have done, let me know and I will make that and record the audio correctly. But I thought for the sake of time and getting this video out, I would just walk you through all of the designs that I made and what they look like in the flesh, like working graphics. So to start with, this is my website. It is now live. I posted that it's live on my Insta, so if you want to be updated before YouTube, then definitely follow me there. I love this like welcome graphic. It is sick. It's the SP logo and it's just floating and spinning and doing all that cool shit. I have a moving type down the bottom here. I did admittedly use ChatGPT to help me come up with some catchphrases. Made them on my own, of course, but I would highly recommend just dipping your toes into ChatGPT for some of this stuff because it is quite handy. And you scroll down and you get a gallery of my current designs that I've done. And we can go across to the actual gallery, which has even more designs. I want to have a video gallery going at some point. But for the moment, I'm just leaving it at this as I don't have too many final video pieces at the moment. And I have a little follow my journey, and it's got a link to my Instagram. And then we go back to the top, and I've got my work section, which brings up a little bit about me and what I do. And then I have different projects that I've worked on for people. I really like my Gag X Grub one. They're really cool local bands that they went up to Queensland to play a show, and the lead singer of Gag got me to design a poster. But yeah, it was really fun. They went up there in a Hertz van, so I made it like the focal point of the poster. So I thought that was sick. But yeah, I've got this like support local artists because I would love to do more work for some local bands. And then in this section, I have my about with just a little bit about myself and my brand, and that's about it for that one. And then next we have my Instagram. I've started using my colors in my new illustrations, as well as applying the cover photos for these stories. And I have the SP logo with my little eye peeking out of it as the profile picture, which I think looks really, really cool. I also designed my link tree to have all the same colors and a nicer font, as well as the SP logo. And lastly, we have my 2 YouTube channels. So this is my portfolio YouTube. I have the SP logo as the profile picture and as the cover image. My cover image has my name, what my job or role is, and then what this what this YouTube is all about. So it says Georgia Bartley, multidisciplinary designer, video portfolio. And then lastly, this channel. I've got my SP logo with my eye peeking out as the profile picture, and then the SP logo for the cover image, which says the behind the scenes of a 20-year-old designer. So yeah, it was a bit of fun, and I am very excited about this brand. I think it looks really cool, and I'll definitely be making more stuff for it, but this is just what I got done this week and the main things that you need to get done for yours. But yeah, happy designing and creating, and see you in the next one.